Hello guys and welcome to the tutorial. Today I will show you how I made this Foria style future based track, and I will break everything down for you guys. Hopefully you will learn something from this. So let's start with the lead right here. It sounds like this. So that sounds pretty good, but it's actually just a square wave with a lot of processing. So if I take off here the effects, it's just a square wave. And now if I turn on all the effects we have here, first of all we have an OTT at about 20%. Which gives a little bit of high end. And then we have a fruity convolver, which kind of acts like a multi-brand compressor, and it really brings out the mids of the sound. And the last thing that makes this lead really unique is just an effector with the lo-fi settings to add a little bit of bit crush. And then it's just EQ'd like here, cut off some low end and some reverb. And finally just cut off some annoying frequencies. And this is how the final result sounds. And I got this lead actually from another YouTuber, so I will link his channel down below. He does very good videos and definitely check him out. So let's move on to the source stack. We have here I think 3 individual layers and 1 vocal ambience layer and some white noise. Together they sound like this. So let me explain what's going on. We have this Harmer synth, which I consolidated because I don't have Harmer yet, but it's very easy to make. So if you open up Harmer, just initialize the preset and then turn here up the voices of unison to 9, and it sounds like this. And now you grab this phase knob and turn it up all the way to 100, and now it will sound very lush, something like this. And then you can mess around with this knob basically, which is the detune, and the pan knob to make it fit like you want it. And that's basically the sound. And all I did was just EQ it a little bit. So let's move on to the second layer, which is the silent 1 layer. So the patch for this is very simple. It's basically just both oscillators play a saw wave. This is 8 voices and this is 7, and they both had a little bit of detune. And other than that, I have just a little EQ on this, not much. Just cutting off some low ends and some low mids. And this goes into the synth bus, which also has an EQ on it. I'm just cutting here some high frequencies as well as some lows. So this is without it. So as you can tell, this EQ really tames the high end and makes it more pleasant to listen to. So moving on to the next layer, which sounds like this. So this is a really lush sound, and it's kind of there in the background to fill out some space. And let me show you the patch for this real quick. It's pretty similar to the other one. The only difference is that here we have 8 voices, and it's more detuned, as you can also probably hear, than the other one. And this one is also a bit quieter. It has a bit more processing on it, like here we cut some low end. This is a bit of distortion with Fruity Blood Overdrive. And stereo shaper to put it like in a different room kind of. Makes just the sound a bit more wide. And we're cutting some low frequencies as well as some highs. And then we have this vocal ambience layer, which is really nice. This really helps to glue the sound together. Like without it, the stack just sounds like this. But with it, it sounds much better. And I think I got this from Jonas Aiden sample pack. There's not much processing here other than EQ. And yeah, let's move on to the white noise layer. Sounds like this. This is just the white noise from Serum. We have here the alpha noise preset, I think. Yeah, this one. And it's also EQ'd a bit, with of course cutting the low end and the stereo shaper to make it wider. Together they sound like this. So let's move on to the bass now. So this is our mid bass layer here. So the patch for this is also very simple. I used Harmor again and just add 3 voices of unison, turn the phase all the way up and the pitch a bit down, and it will sound like this. So it sounds a bit different right now, but I processed it later, and with the processing it sounds like this. Yeah, almost identical basically. So what's going on here? We have a Camel Crusher, and then I EQ'd it. So with the Camel Crusher it sounds like this. And with the EQ cutting the high end and the low end a bit. And now bringing up again some frequencies with the Blood Overdrive. And EQ it again at the end. And finally, our last layer, we have a sub bass. This is very straightforward, just basically 3 oscillator playing a sine wave, and then I distorted a bit with Fruity Blood Overdrive, and then EQ'd it, and cut off some high end. It's very important that you cut the high end of your sub bass, because it will probably interfere with the mix. So let's move on to the drums. For the kick we have the main kick and the top kick. This is how the main kick sounds. And the top kick sounds like this. And together they have a really full sound. I EQ'd the top kick here a bit to just cut off some low end. and on the main kick I did not EQ it. Then I added a snare, which is just a basic dubstep snare. And we have a lot of cymbals here, and they play a very cool rhythm. Yeah, these cymbals just add a lot of energy. So let's move on to the effects and the fills. So just a simple white noise downlifter here. Then for the first fill we have a snare, kind of big room snare, and this bass sample from AU5. Sounds really cool. Other than that, this is just a lead one shot from my main lead. And other than that, we have the reverb tail of the lead, which fades the lead in again. It's very short. Then this is an ARP fill. And the patch is also very simple. Just 2 saw waves with 4 and 3 voices. And then I use the arpeggiator function of Silent 1 to make a nice fill with this. So without it, it's just a simple saw wave. But if I turn it on, it sounds like much better. And I just added some distortion with this. And the secret is, if you play like multiple different notes, it sounds very cool. And these saw waves play very well with the chord stack we have. So alone they just sound like this. But with the saw wave together, like with our stack here, it sounds very full. And right before here the drum hits the kick drum, we have a drum fill. And here again, just this reverse reverb tail from the lead. And other than that, basically there is just the impact at the end, which finishes the drop. So one last thing before the end. This lead right before the drop has a very cool tape stop effect, which sounds like this. So I used a plugin called, I think, D-Blue Tape Stop for this. And although this is a FL Studio plugin, I don't think it actually comes with FL Studio, so you have to download it, but it's free. And if you automate the trigger function here with an automation, you get kind of a really cool tape stop effect. So that was basically everything in this drop, and now I will just play the final result and let you guys enjoy. So that was it with today's video, guys. I hope you learned something new, and if you liked it, please leave a like down below. And also, if you have any requests for future videos, let me know down below in the comments. See ya!